With the NBA season in full swing, baseball getting underway, and the NCAA tournament and the Masters right around the corner, the sports calendar is officially heating up. That means now is the perfect time to take your sports fan couch experience to the next level by getting in on the action. The Athletic has partnered with BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, to bring you the latest odds and exclusive offers to bring you closer to the game. Subscribers of The Athletic get in-depth analysis from our newsroom, plus insight into the latest betting trends and odds from BetMGM's team of experts, getting you the context you need to nail your next pick or parlay. Right now, BetMGM is offering Hoge and Jahns listeners a risk-free first bet up to $600. Just sign up at BetMGM.com and use the bonus code ADAM to take advantage of this special offer from the king of sportsbooks. This offer is for new customers. That's a risk-free first bet up to $600 at BetMGM.com with the bonus code ADAM. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions.
Must be 21 years of age or older to wager. Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Nevada, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, or West Virginia only. Excludes Michigan disassociated persons. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, Nevada, and Virginia. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan. 1-800-GAMBLER in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. And 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. In Tennessee, call or text the red line at 800-889-9789. Or if you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. Promotional offer not available in Nevada.
Get your popcorn ready. It's game time, baby.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
a team that is known as Stoppers.
The Athletic presents Hoge and Jahns.
Every single play, go take it. Bring that juice. Let's go get it. Come on.
Chicago's best Bears coverage.
Go Bears.
Go Bears.
From NBC Sports Chicago, it's Adam Hoge.
The Bears angst in general. Everybody's like angry about it, I feel like. Just relax.
And from The Athletic, it's Adam Jahns.
This is just how it is. It's a range of emotions. It's a range of feelings and hot takes.
Here they are.
Fiery, feisty, and frequently ill-tempered.
The Adams, Hoge and Jahns.
What's up? Welcome in. Hoge and Jahns with you on Franchise Tag Deadline Day.
It's like a holiday for you?
No, in fact, it was completely overblown. Because we all knew it was going to happen.
Today's like the day like free agency is like partially ruined because all the big names, like your Allen Robinsons of the world, they get tagged. So free agency, like people get all excited. They create all these lists, top 100 free agents. Then before free agency even opens, you have like all these guys that are already off the table.
See, that's kind of on the people who make the lists, though. Because how many stories have you seen in the last like 2 weeks that are like Allen Robinson among the best free agents coming up? And every time I see that, I'm like, he's not a free agent.
Our guy Shield at The Athletic had him at number one after Dak Prescott got his massive contract from the Dallas Cowboys. I don't think is that official? That could be official now, right? Because he's already one of the guys. So yeah, that's a real deal. So Robinson was number one for less than 24 hours. Then he got the tag.
That's like when my Wisconsin Badgers were number one in the country for like 2 days before having to play Ohio State in 2007, and then Brian Butch broke his elbow.
Why does it always go back to the Badgers?
I don't know. I think that's actually the first time I've mentioned them in like 5 months, but
5 minutes.
Hey, Wisconsin's Pro Days tomorrow.
Thumbs up.
Today was Northwestern's Pro Day. We'll actually probably touch on that a little bit because
I'll say this. Okay. We'll talk about it later. But Pro Days are a little bit more. They feel more important this year without the combine and other things that go into the pre-draft evaluation.
Absolutely. I mean, Rashawn Slater and Greg Newsome had legitimate things that they had to show today in Evanston, and they did. So we can touch on that. The Bears general manager and head coach were there in attendance, which was nice to see. They're only 20 minutes away. Why not be in Evanston? And they were there. So was Juan Castillo. We'll touch on that a little bit, but welcome in Adam Hoge, Adam Jahns with you. We'll talk a little bit about this franchise tag situation, what it means, what's coming up next. I think a lot of this we've touched on before, but I found the Dak Prescott thing a little interesting, so we'll tie that in as well.
What have you come up with now?
I have to defend myself because you're ripping me for that Dak Prescott trade, right? And how ridiculous it was.
Well, it's your word, yes. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
That applies.
Have you been
Glasses are off, everybody.
Have you been paying attention to this offseason at all?
A little bit.
Okay. What's been the conversation nonstop?
Oh, Dak Prescott, does he want out of Dallas? Is that
No, how the Bears are could make a big move for a quarterback, a big trade, which was the whole point of that column when I wrote it. What was that, October, November, whatever it was? Russell Wilson wasn't available then. Deshaun Watson wasn't available then. The whole
Dak
point
Prescott wasn't available then.
He was more available than those guys. We knew at least. Come on, you got to be more fair right now. You know the whole point of that was that the Bears need to make a big move for a quarterback.
Yes,
they need
do.
to do it, or they're going to be stuck in quarterback hell forever, which they've always been stuck in. That was the whole point of that trade. I threw it out there as an idea, like, hey, maybe the Cowboys are dumb enough to screw up the Dak Prescott situation, and you can go make a big move for a quarterback. Again, at that point, no idea Russell Wilson might be available, but it's the same premise now. It's the same thing that everyone's talking about this offseason. So you can rip me for that trade, but the idea, it was not far-fetched, because what are the Bears doing right now? They're trying to trade for Russell Wilson.
They're trying to take a big swing here, but I don't know if the Seattle Seahawks have no reason to trade him. Let's be honest. They could call. Ryan Pace can text John Schneider to every hour. Text him right now. 8 p.m. Chicago time. Hey, John, what's going on? What's going on? How do you feel today? Russell still mad at you? I just don't know what the... It doesn't make much sense for the Seahawks right now unless Russell Wilson is playing complete hardball with them.
It kind of sounds like he might be, though.
I think he might be, too.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that there's not much logic in trading Russell Wilson, which is exactly why the Bears should be going after him hard. So anyway, hey, we're on YouTube today, and if you haven't noticed, we got these T-shirts that we can wear. How do I do this with one hand? I don't know how much people like the shirt I'm wearing, but I love it. I think it's my favorite. We finally made a T-shirt. Thanks to Adam Jahns. It's hard work. Doesn't say that last part.
The key, everybody, is putting it off long enough so your podcast partner becomes impatient and takes vacation days to get this done. So you're all welcome.
That was all true. Yeah.
True story.
But yeah, so if you are on YouTube or you want to be on YouTube, you can check out the Hoge and Jahns channel on YouTube. We encourage you to subscribe to that. We're going to start putting out more videos on here. I don't know if the whole episodes will always be on there. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. We're experimenting, but we will get you some clips and things like that, hopefully, that you like to consume on your phones and your mobile devices and all that. So check it out, Hoge and Jahns YouTube page. Where you can subscribe. And hopefully you are subscribed to this podcast. Please tell your friends about it. Again, follow us on Twitter. You can read us on The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge and Jahns, where you can subscribe to The Athletic, and you should be subscribed there. You can read me, NBCSportsChicago.com. My second mock draft is up, Adam Jahns.
I haven't. Actually, I missed it. Who's your guy?
My guy was Christian Darrisaw.
Okay.
From Virginia Tech. I went offensive tackle this time. If you missed my first one, went with Trey Lance, who I still believe there's a chance that one of those guys could fall.
100%. One of those guys are falling.
Right. I don't know. Is it going to be Trey Lance? Is it going to be Justin Fields? Is it going to be... I guess at this point with Mac Jones, we're at the point where maybe we're talking about him falling because so many people think he might go in the top 10. I saw a mock draft today that had, I'm struggling to remember where it was, but someone had Mac Jones getting drafted ahead of Zach Wilson.
Who's that?
Okay. I imagine maybe that's how some other people felt like when Ryan Pace drafted Mitch Trubisky over Deshaun Watson, but which is just proof that crazy things like that can happen in the draft. You can say right now you think you know what's going to happen. It almost never happens. There's always things that throw you off, and so anyway, this time I went offensive tackle. I did, however, Johnsy, go with a quarterback in the 5th round. You familiar with Jamie Newman?
I was going to go Sam Ellinger because
No, bad.
No.
Because you're wearing Texas orange right
Texas orange. His coach is on the Bears staff right now. I feel like he's just going to be the guy that just thrown at the end of every Bears mock draft just because of the connection.
I would be okay if they signed him as an undrafted free agent. I don't think I'll have a draftable grade on Sam Ehlinger. Competitive as hell player. Love that about him. I'm sure he's going to be valuable in a quarterback room. To me, he could be like a Tyler Bray dude. Cool. You don't want to play.
That's it. Cool, tall. Just here. Present.
Just here. Holding a cup of coffee.
Value. Another coach in the room, as they say. Coach in the room.
Is he still on the team?
No, he's not.
Is he going to be on the team?
He'll be a UFA. Kids, you hear that one?
Yeah, something. At least this time you acknowledged that it was a real kid, and not a ghost.
Yeah, that happened over there. We moved our chair because of it.
Apparently, it was creepy enough that people just listening were creeped out.
They should have been. So what happened, if we didn't explain ourselves thoroughly, before we get to the Allen Robinson conversation, let's put the ghost kid scenario in the Jahns household to bed. So the kid snuck out of bed. And then where I do the podcast is part of the dining room, and the family room is right behind me. And the lights were off in the family room. So that's where he was. But I couldn't see him because the lights were off, and he was actually quite sneaky. Did not hear him, but you saw his face enter my picture. I did not, because I got the headphones on. I'm listening to you talk about whatever. And before you know it, you're waving at somebody, and kind of freaked me out.
But I'm still confused why when you turned around, you couldn't see him.
Oh, he was gone. He had moved.
Okay.
I think me saying, "What are you waving at?" and turning around made him step back and go into the kitchen part of the great room, whatever you want to call it.
So I blew his cover is what happened.
Yes, you blew his cover.
Sorry.
Got him in trouble.
Sorry, kid. Well, we're happy to know
box for you.
We're happy to know you do not have a ghost in your house. But sorry, your kid snuck out of bed. It happens. All right. So Allen Robinson gets the tag. So what?
Well, this was coming. We all knew it was coming. Nobody should be surprised by this.
Do you think they were even really negotiating before this?
I think they needed to have this for it to be real.
Okay.
Especially from the Bears side of things. Because now you got this hard number of $18 million on the table. It's almost non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable because of that's his set salary for the 2021 season.
Right.
And that's the working number to go around for the average annual average. I said there's a lot of averages I just said there. You know what I'm talking about. The average annual value.
So I agree. And it should probably be higher than that. And it would be higher than that on the open market, which is why this is an advantage to the Bears. And why Allen Robinson's not happy about it, because he's probably getting at least $20 million on the open market. Now he's only going to get paid $18 million. However, this is what I wrote about today. If you want to read my column on NBCSportsChicago.com. If I'm Allen Robinson, I'm not happy about the tag, sure. But I didn't mind seeing the deal Dak Prescott got last night. Granted, he's a quarterback, and Allen Robinson's not a quarterback, but Dak Prescott, there are some good comparisons here. He's the most important offensive player on that team. So is Allen Robinson. The Cowboys could not afford to lose him. The Bears cannot afford to lose Allen Robinson. And there's a lot of similarities, too, in how they are well-liked. They're great teammates. They are a great face of the organization. There's really no reason why you wouldn't want Allen Robinson. Same thing in Dallas. There's no reason why you wouldn't want Dak Prescott. So the point there is, as much as the franchise tag isn't great, and you could say it helped Dak Prescott. I wouldn't buy that argument. I think Dak Prescott gets paid just fine on the open market last spring if he doesn't get tagged. But in the end, it worked out for him because he was patient. So I think that is a lesson. Not that Allen Robinson needs lessons, but I think it is an indication and perhaps more evidence why Allen Robinson, I'd be patient. Why not? What's the downside?
It's playing the year in the tag.
And I know
probably injury concerns, the same concerns he had this season.
Right. And I will never blame a player for being worried about that, especially Allen Robinson, who went through this in 2017.
And Dak, if you're using Dak Prescott as your example there, what the heck happened to him this year?
He suffered a gruesome ankle injury and then got everything he was asking for anyway. And that's not necessarily what would happen to a wide receiver. But if I'm Allen Robinson, as much as we bring that up, what happened to him in 2017, what we don't often bring up is he still got paid. He still got a nice contract from the Chicago Bears. And if I heard him right, I believe he said in that Tyler Dunn interview, or one of the interviews he did, that he still got paid more by the Bears than the Jaguars were originally offering him.
He doesn't keep that in mind anymore, though, does he?
Yeah. So my point
that was quite the risk the Bears took. Let's be honest.
I guess my point is, like, had he gotten hurt this past season, he either would have had the tag put on him anyway, which would be the exact same amount of money that he's getting now, or maybe at that point the Bears do let him hit the open market because he's hurt, depending on what the injury was. And once again, it might not be a 4 or 5 year deal or something. He's probably still getting paid very, very well, just like he did the last time. So, yes, that's a risk, but I think the reward of being patient is still way, way higher. And I think, as you pointed out already, Johns, with the tag now setting the floor at $18 million per year, he's probably already better off. He's probably already winning the game compared to what the Bears were offering back in September. You think that's fair?
I don't know if he's winning the game because this was always going to be part of the game.
I'm saying very specifically, whatever the Bears offer was in September, had he taken that, I don't know that he'd be making $18 million a year.
I don't know the specifics, so I don't think anybody really knows the specifics on this one.
I agree. I'm guessing on that, but I think that's the case.
We went over the numbers in the last podcast, right? Like, he wants to be, he has a good argument to be paid like a top 5 guy. But where he fits in the average there, that's usually where the debate is. And then the guaranteed money goes. I almost wonder, like Prescott's year wasn't long, right? Only 4 years. If I'm him, what's like the risk here of taking like a 2 or 3 year contract, right? Didn't Levante David just get a 2-year contract from Tampa Bay?
Mm-hmm.
That means you get another chance at free agency.
See, the problem with that is the same reason
he did it 3 years ago.
I know, but I think the problem with that is that if I'm the Bears, I don't want to offer that. I want a longer deal that I could spread the hell out of that signing bonus.
Well, that's why you put those void years at the end.
Can I ask a question about that? Why are those legal? Isn't it the most bizarre thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to void 10 years. Like, let's spread out this gigantic signing bonus forever. But the contract's really only 2 years.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like just these non-existent years, but just so I could get this up. Like, we'll keep paying you, but we just got to throw these years on there to get that signing bonus now.
And for all these, like, amazing cap gurus that every team has, why is this now just a thing now? Why didn't you figure this out a long time ago?
Well, that's why Kyle Fuller's deal stands out, because it should make for an easy extension if you want to get his $20 million cap hit down. Because right now I think the Bears are like $25 million over the cap or something. If the projection of $180 million, like, can I have a vent about the NFL? Like,
oh, sure.
What are you waiting for? Like, if I was a cap guru for a team, I'd be furious. Just trying, like, I get cap numbers are fluid. I get there's void years, there's things you can do, but not having that number handy and franchise tag deadline day, like that just seems like just bad business. Like I get there's TV contracts coming in. I get it's got to be negotiated with the players union, but it just seems very odd, and this doesn't seem to help the teams here or anybody for this matter who wants to make deals.
Yeah, I don't understand it, and I don't think it's a good look for the NFL. You've had plenty of time to figure this out, and just do it. I guess. I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe you disagree, but I just feel like there's a lot for Allen Robinson to win by being patient. And I think that the one thing I just said too is maybe the most important thing to remember, in that it's to the Bears' advantage to bring that cap number down. It's the same conversation we're having right now with the cap. If you extend Allen Robinson, that now $18 million cap hit that is guaranteed this year, unless you trade him, you can bring that cap number down by extending him, by spreading out a signing bonus. You actually pay him more money, bring the cap number down, which can help your cap situation. That is some leverage that I believe Allen Robinson has on his side.
Can I go back to one of your points about him and Prescott?
Yeah.
About him being the most important offensive player in the team. The Bears are trying their darndest, their damnedest, for that not to be the case. Let's make that clear. And I do wonder, when Allen Robinson's not the most important player on this team, you know where I'm going with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say they acquire Russell Wilson. Say they acquire Deshaun Watson. How does that change things with Allen Robinson? Now there's a lot of time that has to play out. Like, does he have more of an interest in working this out? Does he have an interest in actually playing this year out in a franchise tag if the Bears can't and him see eye to eye? Like, I think that changes talks. It changes perceptions. It changes his situation. He's got a brand spanking new quarterback who might be the best quarterback he's ever going to play with.
Yeah.
It changes everything. That, like, to me, you know, like, I get that Allen Robinson went on his media tour and he's doing what he has to do, and that's all fair, right? I get it. I understand it. But behind all of this was the concern at quarterback. Like, the Bears don't have one. They don't have one. Like, it's hard to pay a guy a lucrative contract, sign him to a lucrative contract when you don't know who's going to throw the ball to him. And I'm sure he has the same concerns. And that's why they're probably playing hardball as well. But that quarterback decision, man, it looms over everything.
I think I know the answer to this. You didn't read my column yet, right?
No.
Okay. Well, that was a great point you just made.
Is it in your column?
Well, no, it's yes, it is. It is. But it's great minds. Because I know that I could just tell that you hadn't read my column yet, which is absolutely fine. It just got posted a little while ago. But it was just funny that you brought that specific point up, because it goes back to exactly what I said earlier, in that how Allen Robinson's leverage right now is that he is the most important player in the Bears offense. And the way to change that is to get a player that is more important than Allen Robinson. So acquiring a Russell Wilson would change the conversation and would give the Bears more leverage and perhaps more reason. It depends on how Allen Robinson looks at it at that point. Because, sorry, real quick. A-Rob can say, okay, I like this situation to make Wilson's contract work in this crazy situation with the cap. Maybe I'm willing to take a little bit less. Or on the flip side, he says, let me roll for a year on the franchise tag where Russell Wilson is my quarterback, and let me show you what I can really do with a quarterback. Because I've been doing this with Blake Bortles and Mitch Trubisky. See what I can do with Russell Wilson, and then you might be the highest paid wide receiver in the whole game.
Then you get your payday. But what if they play hardball still? Just throw out this scenario. Russell Wilson is acquired. Chicago is going nuts. Number 3 is unretired. Like, that type of nuts. Jersey sales through the roof. Top selling jersey in the league. Everybody's going crazy. But Allen Robinson is still playing hardball.
Mm-hmm.
And you just gave up all of this draft capital to acquire Russell Wilson. You need draft capital. To use your word, leverage. Could the Bears then go to Allen Robinson? Well, we don't see how this is going to work.
Yeah.
We need draft picks. We can trade you. You want to catch balls from Sam Darnold? You want to see what's going on? And I don't know. Who else needs a quarterback?
I don't know, but he likes a lot of tweets. He likes a lot of tweets.
Yeah,
in
what's
New
up
York.
with that, by the way? But like, he did like a lot of stuff from New York. It's still up there, I believe. Go check out his.
Well, he spent some time in New York in the offseason. So
he was liking like trade proposals that were like swaps for him and like Sam Darnold and picks.
Oh, he likes any tweet that goes his. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah,
and that's
some
not
of those weren't bad. Some of those weren't bad actually, but
yeah.
But you wouldn't do that if he had Russell Wilson. Just in terms of leverage, like I think that changes conversations. Again, like you add a quarterback, especially of that caliber in Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, which I do think is considerably more unlikely, right? But you do that changes the conversation. Not only in this city, just about everything Bears, but specifically, can't say that word tonight, specifically what that means for Allen Robinson in negotiations. For everything you said, for everything I just said, that changes the leverage game. I believe that.
Which is a whole other point of this thing, is that there's a lot that can change here in the coming weeks. For one, like you mentioned how they're way above the cap now, and they have to be down to in the top 51 contracts by March 17th. Like that's when that starts. So a lot of people think it's going to be a bloodbath coming up here in the next week or so. Probably is. And it's going to be interesting to see who ends up on the market. You know, one thing I thought was interesting today is that Kenny Golladay in Detroit didn't get tagged. And for maybe a split second in my head, I wondered maybe the Bears just say, hey, let's go get Kenny Golladay.
St. Rita kid.
Yeah.
Northern Illinois.
But that's an example of just how other people coming on the market can affect decisions. Perhaps a corner, like a bunch of cornerbacks end up on the market. That becomes a buyer's market. You have this problem with Kyle Fuller's $20 million cap hit. I understand that extending him can fix that, but Kyle Fuller's is not going to accept a cheap deal over the next 5 years. And he gave you one interception last year. So do you really want to be locked into that? Or is he one of these guys that in this weird suppression of the cap that ends up being a surprising cut?
Save a lot of money.
It's a possibility. I think it saves you $14 million against the cap. Just like that. I'd rather do that than have to cut Akeem Hicks, even at his age at $11 million. Because we've seen the Bears defense without Akeem Hicks. Not good.
Well, he's another opportunity there for an extension. You could cut him for little dead money on your books. But again, like you just said, the Bears are better with Akeem Hicks on the field. Everybody knows that. You see it with your own eyes. It's there in the stats. His absence looms large. I still think he's a productive player.
Oh, he's incredibly productive.
I don't care about his age. I think you got at least a couple, two or three good years out of him.
Yeah. But, well, which is why if I had to pick between those two players, I'd say keep Akeem Hicks, let Kyle Fuller go. I think you can. I always feel like it's like I'm bashing Kyle Fuller, and I'm really not trying to do that. He's a good player. But he shouldn't be the second highest cap hit on your team behind Khalil Mack.
Yeah, it's just the Packers deal coming back to bite the Bears, huh?
Yeah, which we knew at the time.
Contract. Yeah, we knew it would.
Yeah. So, anyway, I'll say this, just so everyone's on the same page. The Allen Robinson, the franchise tag, it means that now there's a new deadline, July 15th. That's the deadline where you can extend him before the season. After July 15th, you cannot give him a contract extension until the end of the season. So it creates another deadline. And then at that point, Robinson either has to play on the tag or say trade me, which is what happened with Khalil Mack. So I could still see a deal get done, but I think that that's going to depend on what we were just talking about. Who's the quarterback? What kind of cap space is there? How badly do the Bears need to lower that cap number for Allen Robinson? Because again, it would be an advantage to extend him to get that cap number down, even while essentially caving into what his side's asking for. It can help you in 2021. It can help you acquire a quarterback and help you keep Akeem Hicks. It can help you with a lot of different things.
I do think even a short-term deal, like a 3-year deal, will help accomplish some of that. At least getting it down from maybe 18 million to 12 million, which,
well, especially if you do the void years.
Yeah, that's a pretty darn good player, right? Yeah, like $6 million. I mean, there's a starter right there. That's another extension for somebody. Akeem Hicks, like there's ways to move money around. Like people freak out about the salary cap, but there's always ways to move money around. Some teams just have to do it more than others. I think that's a good way to view it. There's always money within the cap, but some teams they just have to manipulate it more because of these decisions they make. Many of them aren't good. Some of them have to be like, some deals have to move around to make the cap work. And the Bears just, for all their wheelings and dealing free agency, just happen to be one of those teams that have to manipulate the cap a bit more.
Well, it's going to be a very interesting week. I mean, seriously, I buckle up because I think there's going to be some surprise cuts. And then we're a week away from free agency starting. And I don't know how active the Bears are going to be in signing guys because I don't think they have a ton of room to do that. But that's when a potential trade could happen. It's when enough movement around the league is going to happen. It's when the Patriots will make a move for a quarterback. It's when, the 49ers might make a surprise move for a quarterback. Things could all of a sudden start moving, and I imagine the Bears are going to be in there somewhere with some type of move that requires multiple podcasts to discuss.
Emergency ones.
Yes.
That's what you're saying.
Yes, plan.
The emergency version of the Hoge and Jahns podcast.
Keep your schedule
open.
Those
are some of our best podcasts and some of the favorite ones that we do, I think, out there.
And in that case, we'll have to go live on YouTube.
Yes.
Which we'll still do from time to time. Man, I was thinking the other day how much I cannot wait till we're able to do another live podcast in public.
Like in a bar?
At a bar.
Drinking beer?
Yes.
I was drinking. Honestly, I was wearing the beer drinking football guy shirt.
Yes.
Hoge decided to make fun of me because I was matching him.
Well, it's the same color. It looked like we're,
matching. You said we're matching.
We were matching, even though the shirt was a little different.
So if you're not watching, I am wearing the "Come Out Hard and Stay Hard." Thank you, Harold Jones Quartet, for that soundbite.
And you can get these shirts on obviousshirts.com. And you were commenting because I think these are your first Obvious shirts at how comfortable they are.
They are nice.
That is not a lot. Like these are, how you get like those cheap t-shirts that like almost feel scratchy?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not those. These are soft, pre-shrunken, high-quality shirts. They don't mess around. So anyway, you can still get those obviousshirts.com. We're going to have more coming eventually too. So stay tuned.
Is your Wi-Fi struggling to keep up with your streaming, work, gaming, video calling, and more? What about all at once? When you're connected to the world by Wi-Fi, be sure it's the best. Bring your Wi-Fi up to speed with Orbi Wi-Fi 6 from Netgear. Orbi Wi-Fi 6 is the best and latest in Wi-Fi. It covers your entire home with unmatched speeds and performance for uninterrupted working and learning, video calling, and streaming at home on more devices than ever before in any part of the house. With Wi-Fi this advanced, you're going to want it everywhere. Ready for the best Wi-Fi ever? Find out what makes Netgear America's #1 choice for Wi-Fi at netgear.com/best Wi-Fi. That's netgear.com/best Wi-Fi.
All right. Well, while the I had a feeling like an Allen Robinson extension wasn't going to happen today because the general manager was in Evanston at Northwestern's Pro Day, which was good. And I was, and I know Kevin Fishbane felt the same way. It was, kind of sad not being there today. I love Northwestern's Pro Days. Been at every single one for a long time, going back to when Jimmy Garoppolo was at Northwestern's Pro Day. And they had a ton of talent there today, and I wasn't there.
Didn't the Bears go to that one? See Jimmy Garoppolo?
Well, they usually have somebody there.
Yeah. I thought Pace went. Was it Josh Lucas? Somebody higher up. Maybe it was just Mark Sadowski.
I think Garoppolo was.
Was that pre? That
Garoppolo
was Pace, right?
was Emery.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow, look at us losing track of time.
Yeah, because 15 was Mariota and James Winston.
You're right. So 14 was
Garoppolo
and Derek
Carr.
Yeah.
So that was before Ryan. That was when Ryan Pace. So maybe Ryan Pace was there, but he would have been there with the Saints. And I probably didn't know who Ryan Pace was then, or at least wouldn't have been able to recognize him if I saw him.
He didn't have that like haircut that you like to try to sport back then. He had that like crew cut look. Now he's got that haircut, that high and tight with the flow. Kind of distinguished himself with that. Yeah, he didn't rock that back then.
Which again, we've established he copied me. I didn't copy him.
You were here first, fine.
I have pictures. Anyway, yeah, it's been a long time since Northwestern had that much talent, and it was a show today. Ryan Pace was there. Matt Nagy was there. Juan Castillo, the offensive line coach, was there to see Rashawn Slater. Now, I think Slater's going to be gone by 20, especially after today. He showed out, moved well, benched, what was it, 30, whatever it was, 33, whatever it was plenty. So he did not hurt himself at all today. If anything, he helped himself. And he really is a complete package in terms of just rock solid technique. There's a lot of talk because his arms are a little bit shorter that some teams might want to play him at guard. I just have whoever's going to draft him that high is not drafting him to play guard. They're drafting him to play tackle. And his tape was outstanding at left tackle in 2019. He didn't allow a sack. And I think it's relevant, too, that the offense was bad. Like the quarterback play at Northwestern in 2019 was not pretty. Anybody who watched that season could tell you that guys were walking into sacks all the time when it was very clearly on the quarterback, not the offensive lineman. And throughout all that, Rashawn Slater did not give up a sack. So it's incredibly impressive tape on a struggling offense in 2019. So I think he's a tackle. And I think it's good the Bears were there today. I just don't think he's going to be available at number 20.
Due diligence work. Again, you're not traveling the pro days anyway. So you could have been somewhere else in the country or preparing to go somewhere else in the country. But here you are just driving up the road or down the road to Evanston. He's one of those interesting prospects because he's got first round skills. Tape is fantastic. Just look at the Ohio State game from a couple of years ago. And here he is sitting out the entire season. So teams are going to have questions. I respect his decision, but he hasn't played football in a year. Like teams are going to want to see him up close and personal as much as they can, given the pandemic we're still living and operating in. It's why I said earlier in this podcast, that's why these pro days they carry significantly more value now because there's no combine. It's a chance to maybe talk to people from schools, get some gossip from other scouts. It's great networking without the greatest networking event in the NFL going on, the combine. So you got to make use of these pro days as best you can.
Well, can I give you a conspiracy theory?
Yeah, what do you got?
Well, we've heard of the Bears being at pro days and maybe throwing teams off their scent a little bit. Is it possible the guy they were really interested in looking at today is Greg Newsome, the cornerback? Who's moving up draft boards and is probably going to be there at 20?
20 seems like a good place to start for him, right?
He is plenty tall, great length, type of guy who can play press. gets his hands on the football. So I guess the one wild card in all this is we don't necessarily know what type of corners Sean Desai really wants. He's new defense coordinator. He gets a say in all this. And we just had the Kyle Fuller discussion. I'm not saying this is what's going to happen.
Here's
you could cut Kyle Fuller, draft Greg Newsome,
yeah.
and you have two young corners now for a very, very long time.
I know what you're saying. Here's my beef with it. Can we just invest in some offensive linemen?
I'm with you on that.
I know what you're saying, and believe me, I love some defensive football, but that's probably the problem here in Chicago, right? Like it's this offensive line has been neglected. You've taken some good interior guys like Cody Whitehair and James Daniels are good players, but like it's in the second round. It's time to take a swing attack. Like maybe it's a guard. I don't care what it is really, but you got to invest in that offensive line. Like it's time, especially if you bring in like obviously the 20th overall pick might not be on the table if Russell Wilson is here, but just in general, this offensive line has been neglected. And I think it shows. I think it has shown itself on the field for a couple of years. Like this has to be addressed. I love defensive football, but that'd be my beef with the pick, like a cornerback pick. I get that they'll say BPA, best player available, but come on, invest in some offensive linemen.
Yeah, especially because there seems to be so many good tackles in this class, and that's why I had Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech go on my mock draft today, which you can read on NBCSportsChicago.com.
He went in my first mock draft.
He did
on the Athletic.com.
I did. That's
when I put Mac Jones in the second because I'm telling you, somebody's going to fall.
Yeah, I don't know if he's falling to the second.
Can I bring up the quarterbacks for a second?
We don't talk about quarterbacks on this podcast.
Oh, it's all we talk about. I love Chris Sims out of the box 2021 draft QB rankings.
I haven't looked at these close enough, but someone told me he had Kellen Mond in the first round.
He's got him at number 4.
He's good enough with his quarterback rankings, which I think the point you were about to make, that makes me want to go back and look at Kellen Mond more.
Like he's got a track record. Chris Sims has a good track record of calling at least the top 2 or 3 guys right. Just go back the past couple of years. Nails them. So number 1, he's got Zach Wilson. Number 2, Trevor Lawrence. Number 3, Mac Jones. Number 4, Kellen Mond. 5, Justin Fields. 6, Trey Lance. So if you're the Chicago Bears, look, obviously Chris Sims' evaluations don't play a factor in Hallis Hall or other buildings, but like for outsiders like you and I and people who deal with gossip and leaks, like this is good. Like maybe in the Bears evaluations, they like a little bit of Justin Fields at number 20 and think he could be there. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
Like to me, for a guy that covers this team, it's starting to sound like there's more possibilities on the table, potentially on the table at number 20. You disagree. You look at it.
No, I don't disagree. I think that one of these guys is going to fall. I think drafting a quarterback in the first round is totally on the table for the Bears. I think trading up is on the table. I'm just kind of blown away by the Kellen Mond love. I just got to go back and watch that more, I guess. Because I was a guy who liked Kellen Mond, but then I just didn't feel like he got better.
I watched one of his full games against, God, who was it against? And I didn't feel impressed by him. I think they lost that game, but what do I know?
Also, I feel like I was watching the Senior Bowl and I wasn't impressed, so I don't know. Maybe there's something.
Mac Jones had a good Senior Bowl.
Maybe he just really, really doesn't like Trey Lance and Justin Fields.
Well, I think the Trey Lance conversation is similar to the Rashawn Slater conversation.
Yeah, I think the big difference there to me is that if you turned on the 2019, like there's no doubt about Slater's tape.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas, and I've talked to some NFL people about this with Trey Lance, one of the things that NFL evaluators are struggling with is that they feel like that offense was pretty basic. So one, like Rashawn Slater was.
I think Chris Sims actually brought up this point in his podcast.
Yeah, and it's a real thing, and he's probably hearing it from the same type of people. Like Rashawn Slater went up against Chase Young, AJ Epinesa, like good players that are in the NFL, and dominated them. So there's no question about his abilities against guys that are now having success in the NFL. Trey Lance is at the FCS level. And North Dakota State's a great program. I got nothing against North Dakota State. But not only was he facing FCS talent, but when people that know that offense way better than I know that offense, are questioning like how complex it really is.
Yeah.
And how many tough reads he really has to make. And that's where that's a legitimate thing. Like, so if you throw a much more complex offense at him against much better talent that he's going to face, how is he going to react?
He strikes me as a guy that should go in the second round. Like, that should be his grade. But teams are different. Like, no position makes draft rooms get on edge more, like on tilt more than the quarterback. Look at the Bears' history.
Yeah,
3-2. Like, people are calling us. We got to trade up. Like, that's what the position does to draft rooms. It's what it does to GMs. If you don't have one, you're looking for one. So if you're a team that thinks Trey Lance is this potential home run swing waiting for you in the late first round, early second, like, that's a guy that's going to be traded up for. But his grade probably says he's in the second round based on everything you just said. The tape or lack thereof with him.
Yeah. Well, I think that for all those reasons, that's one of the guys. I mean, sometimes you see Trey Lance like 4th overall, and maybe there's a team that falls in love with him to that level. That's why I put him in. Let me just say, I didn't just throw him in my first mock draft. Like, ooh, maybe he'll be available. I legitimately think that's maybe the guy who we could be looking at on draft night going, well, why does he keep falling? And then you're probably like, it does make sense that he played one game this year. And by the way, didn't look that great in that game. He did have one ridiculous throw down the left sideline, though. That was perfect. Right into just a beautiful dime into his receiver's hands at the goal line, and the guy dropped it. Which is like that time Mitch Trubisky threw 4 touchdown passes on one drive in the Sun Bowl. Remember this? The famous Sun Bowl?
Oh, the famous Sun Bowl.
Yeah. And his guys kept dropping the ball, but they look like great throws. They were great throws. Doesn't mean that it's going to translate to the NFL.
And that's why we're having this conversation about quarterbacks, though.
Where do you think Mitch is going to land?
I have 3 teams in mind.
Okay.
San Francisco.
Okay.
Cleveland as a backup.
San Francisco as a backup?
San Francisco as a backup.
Okay.
Like the team that I don't know if there's going to be a starting job for him. So he's got to be very picky with the right situation and the right offense for him.
Cleveland's interesting to me because I have long thought that like going to Minnesota and being Kirk Cousins backup.
That was my 3rd team.
Like that offense makes sense. And basically the Browns are running that same offense in Cleveland with Kevin Stefanski, who used to be in Minnesota. That's interesting because, like as good as Baker Mayfield looks sometimes I just wonder, like, is he going to have a bad enough stretch where like they need to start talking about benching him? Then you have Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
What was the 3rd team?
No, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Oh. But no starting jobs. You don't think Bill Belichick thinks he's the solution?
Maybe. I think he wants Jimmy Garoppolo back.
I would love to see Mitch Trubisky, though, in one of those offenses. We're on the same page in terms of style.
Yeah. I think he's probably thinking the same. Because if you look what worked for him, really, since he got here, it's plays and schemes like that.
And the one thing that Allen Robinson said in one of those I apologize for not remembering what he did so many.
I think you're going to reference the Pro Football Focus one.
Yes, the Chris Collinsworth conversation. He said one thing I found very interesting was him talking about the offense last year and how they basically had two different offenses. And they were trying to learn Bill Lazor's scheme because it sounds like to me the stuff Lazor brought in was like he was kind of guiding the, hey, this is what we need to run with Mitch stuff, and that dominated camp, which is people, we don't need to get into all this, but as people were doubting you and me saying that Mitch was going to win, a big part of that was because of what they were running. I could not imagine they were running all that stuff in camp and going to say, hey, here's Nick Foles.
Yeah. Well,
it just did not make sense.
All that Nick Foles kind of sucked.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
So, anyway, you all saw it. We talked about it throughout the season. As soon as Nick Foles went in there, it was like, bam, here's Matt Nagy's offense again. And essentially, Allen Robinson admitted all that. Like, they went between two offenses, and that was much tougher than he envisioned it was going to be. And then he talked about how they operate much differently and how Nick Foles constantly wants to tinker at the line of scrimmage and makes all kinds of adjustments. And again, we saw that, but we also saw a lot of delay games, a lot of burn timeouts in the first half of games. And things weren't.
I feel like we saw him holding the ball a lot, getting hit.
Not helping his offensive line. There was a lot of things that probably worked just fine in Philadelphia with a lot of guys that knew that offense, that were familiar with the offense, that could handle all that. A lot more talent.
Fantastic offensive line in front of them.
Yes. So trying to come to a new team and do all that. And maybe in hindsight, that's what Nagy, because I found it odd that like various points of the season, Nagy was referencing, oh, well, he got here and didn't have a real offseason. And it was like the whole point of him coming here is that he knew the offense. But that's probably what he was really referencing, like that chemistry to understand what your teammates can and cannot handle in the moment when you're making those types of checks and changes constantly, which is an argument I've made a lot, that it's not just about what's easy for the quarterback. You got to also keep in count, like if Anthony Miller can't run the right route or can't make the right adjustments, like you have to account for that. You can't just... You have to dumb down the offense sometimes because if running a complex offense doesn't benefit you if your own players can't run it. Simplify it.
And they did. And that's what got them back into the playoff contention.
And I think that'll be a big focus of this offseason, no matter who the quarterback is finding that right balance. Like there has to be more of a balance between the simplification and more of, I guess, the complexity that Nagy wants to run, because yes, it's harder for defenses to pick up on things, but if your own guys can't pick up on it, then what's the point? All right. Well, good stuff. We are going to be back with another episode later this week with a very special guest. Should I say who it is?
You can say who it is.
Have you heard of Ted Lasso? We've talked about Ted Lasso. We'll disappoint you right away. It's not Jason Sudeikis. Okay, Jason Sudeikis is not coming out of the podcast, but Coach Beard is. Brendan Hunt, who plays Coach Beard on that show, is on our podcast Thursday, and the reason is he's a Chicagoan who's a Bears fan. So he'll be on the podcast later this week, and really looking forward to that. So we will have another episode later on this week. If there's any other news that we need to address, we will. So it won't just be the Brendan Hunt interview. But in the meantime, follow us on Twitter. A lot of things going on. At Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns. You can read me at NBCSportsChicago.com. Johnsy on The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see that link right below you. And if you're not watching on YouTube, you can. Not that you have to. Podcasts are good on your phone in your car, but this is now another added option for you if you'd like to check it out on YouTube.
Check out the shirts live in action.
Live in action. We finally made a shirt. I like this one.
The orange looks sharp.
The one with the logo looks great too, I gotta say. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. So go to obviousshirts.com for all that. All right. Good stuff.
See ya.